Today's movie really sucks. No, seriously, it's about vampires. Welcome to Sick Flicks, where I take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to help you embrace your inner gore geek. I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, and today we're tackling Ted Nicolau's low-budget vampire flick, Subspecies. Released in 1991, Subspecies was one of Full Moon Films' most beloved franchises. The film spawned multiple sequels and was a video store darling, but is mostly remembered because it was the first vampire film to shoot in Romania after the fall of communism. The Romanian countryside setting definitely gives this one an air of authenticity most of the other low-budget vamp films are missing. But will that be enough to earn it 5 barf bags? Let's get to the gore and find out. Oh, and before we begin, today's video is brought to you by patrons Monica Presley, Quinn, and Secure Thong. If you'd like to sponsor some videos, you'll find links to my Patreon in the pinned comment and description below. And now that we've got that taken care of, let's get bloody. We fade in on a castle establishing shot. I guess that's sorta different. And here's Angus Scrimm cosplaying Phil Spector. Clearly they didn't blow the budget on this wig. And less than a minute in, we've already got another item for the things I never needed to see list. Angus Scrimm in extreme close-up tonguing a giant ring pop. Oh, hold on, things are about to get better because we switched over to Nosferatu. Fuck, that's just Anders Hove. My bad. Guess he borrowed his hands from the guy in Night Killer. Time has really been cruel to Robert Smith. I'm not sure if Angus Scrimm is supposed to be Mozart or Phil Spector.
Why have you come?
Neither look is really working at this point. Boy! Man, the tall man sucks. Then it's time for some exposition.
You were banished from this place.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go remix Let It Be. And yeah, this is basically the perfect encapsulation of what to expect from Subspecies right here.
Did you think that I would stand by and let him assume the mantle of power?
Melodramatic dialogue whispered for added effect. Jesus, is Angus Scrimm wearing lipstick? He looks like a drag version of B. Arthur. Or in other words, he looks like B. Arthur. After some more exposition, B goes all Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. It's also convenient he stood right in the perfect spot for that cage to capture him. Life tip, if there's a giant X on the floor, move.
I prayed it would not be necessary to destroy you, Radu.
Wait, did he just call him Ragu? They named the villain after cheap spaghetti sauce? What's that? Oh, Radu. My bad. Anyway, Prago's not gonna put up with this, so he starts taking off his Halloween witch claws to show he means business. Oh yeah, I had these finger foods at a Halloween party once. They were delicious. Good lord, look at this special effects shot. Did they just copy and paste some 90s computer clip art in here or what? So, fun fact, originally actors were going to play the monster minions in Subspecies, but Ted Nicolau thought they looked corny, so they went with this terrible stop motion instead. And they're already waiting in line to use the throne. Freed from his cage, Radu takes this opportunity to give dear old dad a knife-changing experience.
Forgive me, Father.
He's opening him up like the mail. Damn, this season of Golden Girls got pretty dark. And then we take a train ride through the credits. Slowest bullet train ever. Subspecies? My favorite subspecies is the cold cut combo. Oh hey, look, they got Ralph Macchio to be in the movie. I won the All Valley Karate Tournament and the big prize was a trip to Transylvania? Then we get some exposition.
So the lady from the Historical Society offered to let us stay at the fortress.
Can we go back to the vampires? I'm already bored of these people. I was gonna make a Trabant joke here, but that's really a Trabant. You know what's on page 3 of the Trabant's owner's manual? The bus schedule. I mean, look at that acceleration. 0 to 60 so fast you could clock it with a sundial. And I guess we're gonna drive there in real time, which could take up the rest of the movie if you factor in stops for the inevitable Trabant breakdowns. They finally arrive, and the locals are so excited to see them they've already started the funeral.
Oh wow, it's great.
This new version of the Village People is kinda weird. And castle establishing shot. Honestly, if you told me Charlie Band and Ted Nicolau made Subspecies just so they could write off a Romanian vacation, I'd totally believe you. I'd also believe you if you told me this was the 14th different white Trabant they'd used so far. There's no way one of them has run for this long. They head inside, and it's wild that the tunnel from Irreversible connects to a boarding house in Romania. And since we're here, let's stop for some exposition.
You know the history of Fortes?
We studied medieval history together in school. We're smarter than we look.
That's up for debate. I will say it's nice that Daniel LaRusso and Allie got to travel through Europe together, though. Then they check in. Well, your website said mid-century modern, but I guess Middle Ages peasant is acceptable. And apparently this is their semester abroad as they get a guest lecture from Carl the Caretaker.
This region suffered a savage attack. The survivors held out as long as they could.
I really think you'll be able to sink your teeth into today's lesson. Lillian heads upstairs to this old storage area. Convenient that it's so well lit. Oh look, it's my podium. I hate to break it to you, Carl, but it looks like you've got a Nosferatu infestation up here. Gonna have to tent the whole place and garlic bomb it. Castle establishing shot. I gotta say, this feels like an upgrade from the standard house establishing shots we usually get on this show. This means we get to check in with Ragu, who has the bloodstone, which is the secret ingredient in his legendary red sauce. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. And more establishing shots. Ted Nicolau's like, we came to Romania to make this movie, and by God, I'm gonna remind you of that every chance I get.
According to the legend, this was a place inhabited by vampires since the 14th century.
Did she just call them vampires? Is that like George Michael with fangs? I know they say the music industry is full of bloodsuckers, but this seems on the nose. The girls head out for some exploring, and what's with these sweaters? It's like they're wearing alpacas. Castle establishing shot. You know what to do. Inside, Radu does his best Ultra Beast impression. Rise from your grave. Dude definitely needs more beauty sleep. This is basically how I look first thing in the morning, only with less hair and more beard. Outside, Lillian wants to do a little B&E.
Let's see if we can get inside the castle. I've never been inside one before.
That sounds like a great idea. I mean, what could go wrong? She gets scratched and they head back, but Ragu is like, wait, come back. I was going to offer you some of my fresh baked ziti. I use Newman's own sauce straight from the bloodstone on it. Even have some ice cold Bloodweisers. Back at the fortress, Mara's putting on a concert. What do you think, Ian, Sarah?
It stinks.
Well, you know, I've been thinking about what Mara said this afternoon, about no one ever mentioning Castle Vladislas.
Well, to be fair, it's probably because no one can pronounce it. Then Budget Corey Hart shows up. Michelle's like, we have the same haircut. They invite him to chill, but he's got other plans.
Would you like to join us?
I'm doing important research about wearing sunglasses at night. Basically, this guy is the mysterious goth dude who transferred to your high school in the middle of sophomore year. You know, the dude who listened to Joy Division and quoted Baudelaire. You just know he reeks of cloves and patchouli. Mara's not impressed.
Please, tell us more.
Mara, you bitch. The next day, they do some exploring. This lady wants to show them her Bullwinkle J. Moose cosplay. Looks great.
It's likeness of the gypsy who made the truce with the vampires.
Oh good, it's story time.
Stole the stone and took it to the king of the vampires.
I feel like we could have skipped the opening of the movie and just started here. And I gotta be honest, Dawn Rickles was not a pretty woman. Do you kids even remember Dawn Rickles? Christ, I'm old. And castle establishing shot. Tuckered out after a long day of exploring, Ralph Macchio needs to get some sleep. He's got to start filming My Cousin Vinny in the morning. Then the girls get lost going home. Don't you know the way, Mara? I'm sorry, I haven't the foggiest. I will say it's convenient they get lost in the most well-lit forest ever, though. It's like mid-afternoon out there. Then Radu shows up. Oh sweet, my next victims. They flee, but luckily they run into Professor McDreamy. What are the odds? Well, since something interesting almost happened, let's slow things down with another castle establishing shot. Wait, did the movie just start over? Stefan's inside. I wish I knew what was going on here, but this all feels a little cryptic. Wait, dead B. Arthur is still on the floor?
Father.
And Stefan's Radu's brother? This movie is twistier than a Romania mountain pass. Say what you will, but Angus Scrimm's character died as he lived. In a really awful wig. Things then turn violent. Look out! Sting has Stefan in the sleeper hold. Looking at these brothers, I'm beginning to think Dad might have had an affair with Lily Munster. Or a bat. I will say it's a good thing these two are vampires, because they both suck.
Your pain, little brother, makes me feel sick.
So, Stefan's the sexy vampire and Radu's the bad one. This feels like a sort of inspiration for Twilight. Then we jump over to the ladies. Good to see I'm not the only one who got put to sleep by that last scene. And we jump over here. This scene reminds me that I haven't seen Edward Scissorhands in a really long time. Radu stops by for a little midnight snack. He's feeding from her arm because he didn't want to be a pain in the neck. And another establishing shot. Does it really matter which crumbling Romanian ruins we're in at this point? I guess it does in this case, so we can know exactly where this bad acting showdown is taking place. You'll get my bottomless Dairy Queen strawberry sundae when you pry it from my cold, undead, long-fingered hands, Stefan. Radu's overacting is really getting a little long in the tooth at this point.
I'll make sure to treat her with special care.
Back at the ruins, Carl's ready to host today's episode of This Old Fortress, where he'll show you how to fortify your house against vampires. Not gonna lie, I don't think you're supposed to sharpen those giant novelty pencils. Then things get weird.
I would have destroyed him myself, but I was afraid.
Well, that's enough talk about killing. Let's switch gears and talk about feelings instead.
You are falling in love. Don't be foolish.
From there, we jump to tonight's show at medieval times. Man, this Romanian version of the Muppet Show is weird. Then Michelle and Stefan meet up for a bad acting showdown of their own.
You should be watching over Lillian.
But this is an important part of our research.
Stefan puts the moves on her but cuts it short. Sorry, you gotta return some videotapes. Meanwhile, there's a whole lot of horsing around happening at this festival. I kinda feel like we wandered into a Borat movie at this point. Then Radu shows up and attacks Mara. He's probably just taking his dinner to go. Turns out that was right, because he's busy feasting on Lillian too. Sorry to eat and run. And now we're gonna stop for some needless exposition.
Radu and I are half-brothers.
Yeah, thanks, movie. We figured that out 45 minutes ago. Back in the room, Lillian is zoned out. Looks like she's in Transylvania. Look, that right there is some of my finest work. I'm just gonna retire now. And time for an establishing shot. Turns out we've got some grave new developments. Lillian's dead. And castle establishing shot. I don't even know how many we have at this point. Somewhere just north of a metric fuck ton is my best guess. And now we're ready to spring into action.
I know where he sleeps.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say in a coffin. I mean, he's a vampire. Probably doesn't have a Tempur-Pedic. And wait, you know where he sleeps and you haven't killed him yet? Anyway, they head inside. Man, this season of House Hunters International has really gone crazy with the houses their couples are looking at. I'm a grad student working on my PhD, and he's a vampire hunter. Our budget is $3.6 million, and we're looking for something with old bones. Literally, we'd like a crypt. After some exploring, they find this coffin. It's an open casket affair, but too bad for them, it's empty. Sorry guys, but our vampire is in another castle. And here's Full Moon Pictures living up to their name. Then Radu wanders in from the set of a Cheech and Chong movie. And don't look now, but Lillian's coming back. It's convenient they buried her in like 6 inches of dirt. And establishing shot. But hey, at least it's a new one. Inside, say what you will about Carl, but that dude definitely knows how to party.
We will open his coffin. I will put both barrels against his chest and shoot him with the rosary beads.
Turns out Michelle and Carl are having one of those church lock-in sleepovers. Youth pastor Stefan has to leave, but he told them they're on the honor system and Jesus is watching. Castle establishing shot. If you're drinking at this point, you're more blacked out than this building. Inside, Stefan is fondling his wood.
Hell yeah.
No, not like that, you pervs. I mean his wooden stake. Wait, that sounds dirty too.
Hell yeah.
He finds Mara, but too bad it's a trap. Ah yes, fell for the old net trap. Nice work, Stefan. So let me get this straight. Our hero, the master vampire, is basically thwarted by a net. Back inside the church, budget Ernest Hemingway recounts the time he hooked a really big fish. This riveting tale is interrupted when vampire Lillian shows up. Michelle, who's obviously never seen a vampire movie, runs out and gets abducted. Nice work, Michelle. She winds up in the dungeon with Mara. They escape, but if you guessed Mara was now a vampire, give yourself a screenwriter's credit. This really is pretty fantastic. And now, Stefan and Michelle are hostages. Why do I feel like this is about to turn into Embrace of the Vampire? You could say this is a real cluster suck. Things look terrible, but here comes Carl to save the day. Guessing you didn't have that on your subspecies bingo card, did ya? He blasts Mara and then frees Stefan. Glad the old guy has to do all the heavy lifting here. And then we get vampire sword fighting. This is definitely not Highlander. Michelle and Lillian are fighting tooth and nail too, until she gets crushed under this chandelier. This is definitely one of the few highlights of this movie. The crane kick would have probably worked here too, Daniel-san. Radu moves in for the finishing blow on Stefan, but surprise, he makes his point with this pike. Hope you enjoy your steak, Radu. Then Stefan channels his inner Paul Bunyan and lumberjacks Radu's head off. And Stefan gets the Bloodstone.
Bloodstone.
The bottomless strawberry sundae is mine. And pretty much everything is coming up Millhouse because now Michelle's a vampire too. These two haven't even been on a date, but now they're going to spend eternity together? They'll be sleeping in separate coffins in under a century. And here comes the swerve ending. Wait for it. Yeah, there it is. Subspecies was a video store staple in the early 90s. It spawned an entire series of films, and by Full Moon standards, it's pretty good. The real selling point of the film is the setting. This was the first film to shoot in Romania after the end of communism, and like Dark Waters, the Eastern European locale makes up for a lot of shortcomings. You just can't recreate that kind of ambiance on a set or in America. But enough about that. Can Subspecies fill up 5 barf bags with blood? Let's go to the gore card. In terms of gross anatomy, Subspecies is pretty tame. We get a beheading, some broken fingers, and a lot of blood drool, but that's about it. Radu's makeup is pretty cool looking, well aside from the fingers, but there's just not enough splatter here to justify anything more than a 1 barf bag rating. Subspecies is not a particularly sick flick. If you're looking for another movie with a cool setting and loads of atmosphere, be sure to check out my review of Dark Waters. You'll find a link here on the screen after my outtakes. I'll meet you over there. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, bringing you all the splatter that matters. Released in 1991, Subspecies was one of Full Moon Films' most beloved franchises. The film spawned... God damn it. Fourth sentence already mangling it. But is mostly remembered because it was the first vampire film to shoot in Romania after the fall of communism. It's going to be one of those long sentence days I can see, which could take up the rest of the movie if you factor in stops for the end of a blah 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 blah. My mouth is really not working. I'm not sure why. I was like just really struggling today. Which is the secret ingredient in his legendary red sauce. I cannot fucking enunciate. Back at the ruins. Ooh. Subspecies was one of those... Bleh. It's really hard to narrate videos when your mouth is in open rebellion against your brain. Radu's makeup is pretty cool looking. Holy hell, that was a disaster.